He was the hero of millions. But was he truly a hero at all? He built an empire with his bare hands. But did he also nearly destroy it? He preached faith, family, and vitamins. But did Terry Bollea ever live by the words of Hulk Hogan? How did one man rise from a bullied kid in Tampa to the face of an entire sport? How did he transform into the villain who betrayed his fans, only to become the biggest star all over again? And in the end, was Hulk Hogan remembered as the greatest wrestler of all time, or as a man forever haunted by his mistakes? This is the untold journey of Hulk Hogan, a hero to millions, a villain to many, and a man chasing immortality in the only way he knew how. When Hulk Hogan was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame more than 20 years ago, it felt like a perfect moment. His family was in the front row with tears in their eyes. The crowd was so loud, so relentless, that Hogan could barely even make his speech. And when he finally spoke, he promised that Hulkamania would live forever. But what followed wasn't forever. It was a roller coaster. The top, the bottom, and somehow back again. A legacy as bright as the spotlight and as controversial as the man himself. 10 years after his induction, Hogan's name was removed from the Hall of Fame. 10 years after that, Hulk Hogan passed away at the age of 71. Terry Bollea, the boy who would become Hulk Hogan, grew up in a modest home in Tampa. Life wasn't easy. At school, Terry was teased relentlessly for being overweight, for his size, even for the shape of his head. He didn't fit in. But when he came home, he escaped into his own private world, wrestling on TV. He idolized the passion of Dusty Rhodes. He marveled at the physique of superstar Billy Graham. And somewhere deep inside, he knew he wanted that life. His parents didn't. When Terry dropped out of college to pursue music, they were disappointed. When he said he wanted to become a wrestler, they were outright against it. Hulk's journey was forged in fire, sometimes literally. In training with Hiro Matsuda in Florida, Hogan suffered a broken leg on his very first day. Matsuda wanted to test his resolve. Many quit. Hogan didn't. And that stubbornness, that refusal to give up, became the first spark of Hulkamania. In 1979, Terry entered the World Wrestling Federation. Vince McMahon Sr. decided the rookie's larger-than-life frame needed an equally larger-than-life identity, and so Hulk Hogan was born. At that time, it didn't feel legendary. Terry's parents still thought wrestling was an embarrassment, but fate was already weaving history. In 1981, Hollywood came calling. Sylvester Stallone wanted Hogan to play Thunderlips in Rocky III. Hogan wasn't a major star yet, but his size and charisma made him the perfect opponent for the underdog Rocky Balboa. During filming, Hogan's raw enthusiasm turned dangerous. He unintentionally cracked Stallone's collarbone and sent 2 stuntmen to the hospital. And yet, this golden opportunity almost destroyed his wrestling career. Vince McMahon Sr. didn't want wrestlers starring in films. For that, Hogan was fired from WWF. But as destiny usually does, it had bigger things in mind. When Vince McMahon Jr. took control of the WWF from his father, the company itself was a gamble. If he missed even a single loan payment, the WWF would fall back into Vince Sr.'s hands. But Vince Jr. had a wild vision: take wrestling national, put it on TV, make it larger than life. And he needed one star to lead the charge. That star was Hulk Hogan. In 1984, Hogan returned and captured the WWF Championship. He held it for an astounding 1,474 days. This wasn't just a title reign, it was the birth of Hulkamania. Children wore his shirts, parents bought his action figures. Hulk Hogan wasn't just a wrestler, he was an American folk hero, a Saturday morning superhero, the muscle-bound face of professional wrestling's explosion into pop culture. By the age of 30, Hulk Hogan had it all. He was rich, his parents were finally proud, and across America, kids saw him as their superhero. Hulkamania wasn't just popular, it was spreading like wildfire. Hogan himself summed it up best. "This thing's catching on, brother. It's like a fever, and there are thousands and thousands of Hulkamaniacs out there." But enormous fame often comes with controversy. In 1985, Hogan made an appearance on the talk show Hot Properties. The host, Richard Belzer, asked him to demonstrate how real wrestling really was. Hogan obliged, a bit too enthusiastically. He applied a front chin lock, dropped Belzer to the floor, and left him unconscious. Cameras rolled as Belzer collapsed, hitting his head and bleeding. Just 4 days later, Hogan shook off the bad press and competed in the main event of the very first WrestleMania. Thanks to his fan base, it was a massive success. Hulk Hogan was no longer just wrestling's biggest name. He was its face, its ambassador, its cash cow. Yet for all the cheers in the arena, not everyone backstage was clapping. In 1986, Jesse "the Body" Ventura tried to spearhead something revolutionary, a wrestlers' union. He argued that performers deserved fair pay, health insurance, retirement benefits. "What about the guys who give 30 years to this business?" Ventura asked, and in the end, they don't even have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. Ventura organized around WrestleMania 2, and many felt the effort could succeed, but only if Hulk Hogan stood with him. Instead, Hogan went straight to Vince McMahon and revealed the plan. It kills the movement in its tracks, bearing the idea of wrestling unionization for decades. To Jesse Ventura, Hogan had betrayed him.
"He betrayed me."
To Vince McMahon, Hogan had cemented his loyalty. The company went on to thrive, but at the cost of a revolution that could have changed the lives of wrestlers forever. Meanwhile, Hulkamania continued to grow, but Terry Bollea, the man behind the character, wasn't shielded from real pain. Behind the muscles and fame was grief that never went away. Decades later, Hogan admitted the death of his brother still haunted him, a reminder that even the immortal Hulk Hogan carried scars. The cheers were deafening at the arena, but outside the ring, Terry Bollea's world was shaken to its core. In the summer of 1986, tragedy struck his family. His brother Alan, a man already broken by heartbreak after the murder of his wife, took his own life. He left behind 4 children. And so Terry, now known to the world as Hulk Hogan, became more than a wrestling hero. He became a caretaker and a father figure. Alongside his wife Linda, they raised 3 of Alan's children. Linda bearing the heavy work at home, while Terry was constantly on the road, wrestling to support them financially. Hogan himself would later admit he had lived through unimaginable highs and devastating lows, but the show had to go on. By 1987, 3 years into his WrestleMania main event streak, Hulk Hogan faced the moment that defined wrestling history. WrestleMania 3, the Pontiac Silverdome. 93,000 fans in attendance, the largest live crowd the business had ever seen. And across from Hogan stood a living mountain, Andre the Giant. To this day, it remains one of wrestling's most iconic images. Hulk Hogan body slamming Andre the Giant. He said he tore both biceps in the process. The records, however, reveal something less supernatural. Andre, weakened by his own health problems, actually pushed off Hogan's thigh to complete the motion. Still, in that moment, what mattered wasn't mechanics. It was emotion, and Hogan understood that better than anybody. As he once said, "I wasn't the greatest technical wrestler, but I knew how to create emotion, how to create excitement, how to tell a story." And on that night, with that slam, the story was perfect. The slam heard around the world transformed Hulk Hogan into something beyond a champion. He became larger than life, an unstoppable comic book superhero in Technicolor spandex. Wrestling was no longer just wrestling. It was spectacle, theater, entertainment for the masses. Hogan's popularity soared not just in the ring, but across American culture. Action figures, lunchboxes, morning cartoons. He was everywhere. For kids, Hulk Hogan was the ultimate role model. For Vince McMahon, he was the golden goose. Merchandise sales skyrocketed. Everything with Hogan's name on it worked. Hulkamania wasn't just running wild. It had launched WWF into orbit. As one insider put it, once Vince pushed that button, the rockets were launched. We were going to the moon. But rockets eventually come down. And for Hulk Hogan,
all right, over the last couple of months, it has been very difficult for me
the
to
farther
introduce
he
this
would
man.
one day have to fall. Hulk Hogan had already would also become one of his most humbling. WrestleMania 6, it was billed as the ultimate challenge. Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior. Two superheroes colliding in Technicolor. It wasn't Shakespeare, but it didn't need to be. It was myth, childhood magic. And on that night, Hogan did something that shocked the world. Rarely did he let anyone stand in the spotlight above him. But that night, he carried Warrior to immortality and passed the torch, if only for a moment. To those watching, it felt like history. To the boys in the back, it felt like a miracle. After WrestleMania 6, Hogan's eyes began drifting toward Hollywood. Could he leap from wrestling superhero to mainstream celebrity? In a sense, he did. Before John Cena or Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson ever graced the silver screen, there was Hulk Hogan. Family films like Suburban Commando and Mr. Nanny might not have been classics, but for 90s kids, they cemented Hogan as an all-American icon who lived beyond the squared circle. For millions of children, he wasn't just a wrestler. He was Saturday mornings. He was lunchboxes. He was childhood. But while Hulk Hogan thrived on screen, Terry Bollea, the man behind the character, was lost. His personal life began to crumble. The pressure of being Hulk Hogan to the world was crushing, and the responsibility of being a father at home was one he often failed to face. On screen, he was the perfect hero, a savior who told children to train, say their prayers, eat their vitamins, and be true to themselves. Off screen, the truth was much more complicated. By his own admission, he drank before and after matches. He escaped from his problems. He wasn't always present for his family. And gradually, the line between Terry Bollea and Hulk Hogan blurred until even Hogan himself didn't seem to know where one ended and the other began. America saw Hulk Hogan as a superhero, but the man behind the mask was about to face challenges so real, Even the red and yellow couldn't protect him. By 1994, Hulk Hogan wasn't just wrestling's biggest superhero. He was suddenly a key witness in the biggest trial in wrestling history. Vince McMahon, the mastermind behind WWF, was being accused of distributing steroids. If convicted, he faced up to 17 years in prison. The prosecution believed Hulk Hogan would bury him with testimony, but when Hogan took the stand, he didn't deliver the fatal blow. He admitted his own steroid use, but he never implicated Vince. In that one moment, Hulk Hogan may have saved his former boss and the future of wrestling itself. Twice Hulk Hogan had saved Vince McMahon, first by igniting Hulkamania in the 80s, and now by protecting him in the courtroom. But McMahon had also learned a crucial lesson. Never build an empire around just one man. While Hulk Hogan remained the face, Vince began grooming a brand new generation of stars. Bret the Hitman Hart, Shawn Michaels, The Rock, and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Meanwhile, Hogan and McMahon were falling apart over creative differences, so Hogan jumped ship. And in 1994, he debuted in WCW, immediately beating Ric Flair for the World Heavyweight Championship. WCW had its new main attraction, and Hogan carried the company on his broad shoulders. But something was happening. The once beloved superhero in red and yellow was losing steam. After years of preaching the same lines, training, prayers, vitamins, fans were restless. The magic of Hulkamania was wearing thin. Hogan, once untouchable, was being booed. And then, in 1996, the unthinkable happened. At WCW's Bash at the Beach, a betrayal shocked the world. Hogan turned heel. The man who told millions to say their prayers now sneered at the crowd and spat on his legacy. Alongside Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, he formed a brotherhood that would redefine wrestling forever. The New World Order. It was chaos. Fans threw trash in the ring. Children cried. Some called it the greatest betrayal in wrestling history. But as Hogan himself admitted, "I did all those things for the kids, but really I did it for the money." And that gamble paid off. Hogan's heel turn wasn't just successful, it was revolutionary. The NWO became the most notorious faction in wrestling history. Hollywood Hogan, with his black beard, air guitar to Voodoo Child, and ruthless swagger, reinvented himself as the ultimate villain. And for the first time, WCW Nitro overtook WWF Raw in the Monday Night Wars. For over a year, Hulk Hogan, the once heroic face of wrestling, stood as its most hated villain. And in doing so, he led wrestling into its most competitive, explosive era ever. After decades as wrestling's biggest name and WCW's ultimate villain, Hulk Hogan eventually stepped away from the ring. But retirement didn't bring peace. Instead, it brought something far worse: exposure. And the fall of Hulk Hogan began, not inside the squared circle, but inside his own home. Hogan thought a reality show could bring his family together. If we show the world the Hogans, maybe we'll all feel closer. Maybe everyone will share in the fame and fortune, he thought. But the cameras didn't create harmony. They recorded chaos. Every argument, every fracture, every moment of disappointment became content. On screen, Terry and Linda's marriage cracked under the spotlight. Linda herself said, "I can't live like this anymore, Terry. Every day's drama, I'm done." Their children, Brooke and Nick, were dragged into the world of reality stardom before they could understand the cost. Friends, school, normalcy were replaced with scripts, mics, and cameras rolling from morning until midnight. Brooks said years later, it was all too fast, too much. The rhythm of a normal childhood was gone. Hogan poured millions into Brooks' music career, with little success. Meanwhile, his protective instincts spiraled into a state of paranoia. He criticized her boyfriends on camera and even placed a GPS tracker on her car. But the worst was yet to come. In 2007, Hogan's son Nick was involved in a devastating car accident. Nick survived, but his best friend riding in the passenger seat was left permanently paralyzed. Nick was sentenced to 8 months in jail. Just 3 months later, Linda filed for divorce. The cracks turned into an implosion. Reports surfaced that Hogan had slept with his daughter's friend, Christiane Planta, decades younger than him. Linda called him a sex addict and a liar. Brooke, already scarred by what she described as verbal and physical abuse growing up, said the betrayal was the final straw. She cut ties with her father and has remained distant ever since. Hogan would never meet his grandchildren. Depressed and broken, Terry turned back to the bottle, staring into his reflection, unable to comprehend how the once perfect Hogan empire had collapsed. In 2010, he remarried, calling his relationship with Jennifer McDaniel a second chance at life. "One of the first things I did was apologize to my kids," he later said. "I begged for forgiveness for what they'd witnessed." But the spotlight never left Hogan. In 2012, Gawker Media leaked a sex tape of him with his best friend's wife. The tape was filmed during his divorce. The encounter was consensual. The recording wasn't. Hogan sued, and in a stunning victory, walked away with $10 million after taxes. Then came the most devastating blow to his image. In 2015, audio recordings from the tape revealed Hogan repeatedly using racial slurs. WWE cut ties with their once immortal icon immediately, even going as far as removing him from their Hall of Fame. Hogan later admitted, "It hit me hard. People don't realize how many lives you affect when you lash out with something hateful. You can shatter an entire legacy with a single word." 40 years of fame, gone in an instant. From superhero to pariah, from megastar to outcast, Hulk Hogan's legacy seemed finished. But in wrestling, there's always one last comeback. And for Hogan, one final act remained. In 2016, after years defined by scandals and lawsuits, Terry Bollea once again returned to headlines. In an interview with TMZ, he casually joked about becoming Donald Trump's running mate in his presidential campaign. It wasn't about political experience. To Hogan, it was just about popularity and perhaps a little nostalgia for the days when he was America's larger-than-life hero. But for many fans, the controversies of Terry Bollea had long since overshadowed the legend of Hulk Hogan. Some turned away from him entirely. Others argued that, for all his mistakes, Hogan was at least trying. Publicly, he admitted to his lies, to his lapses in judgment, to the ways he had sabotaged his own career. "I don't agree with anything I did," he confessed. "I'm accountable. It's embarrassing to even talk about." In 2018, WWE quietly reinstated him to its Hall of Fame. 2 years later, in 2020, he was inducted a second time as part of perhaps the most controversial but influential group in wrestling history, the New World Order. By 2022, Hulk Hogan reached a personal milestone. After years of alcohol abuse, he finally quit drinking. But redemption remained partial. In January of 2024, his son Nick was arrested again, this time for driving under the influence. Only months later, Hogan announced the launch of his own brand of lager, Hulk Hogan's Real American Beer. He remained an entrepreneur, chasing ventures outside the ring wherever they appeared. Yet no matter how far he strayed into reality shows, businesses, or promotions, wrestling was still his great obsession. When asked if he'd ever return to WWE, Hogan quipped, "I've got a new tag team partner, my Real American Beer." But when he finally appeared again with the company that made him, the result was painful. There was no roar of the crowd. The legends in attendance laughed. The magic was gone. Just 7 months later, Hulk Hogan was gone. In those final years, his image remained complicated. People remembered the lies, the betrayals, the scandals, their deaths. Hogan's last chapter wasn't heroic, it wasn't triumphant, but it was human. What will remain of Hulk Hogan? To some, he will always be a liar, a manipulator, a fallen idol. But to millions of others, he will forever be the yellow and red warrior who told us to say our prayers, eat our vitamins, and believe in ourselves. His story was flawed, his life controversial, but his legacy undeniable. Hulk Hogan was the rise, the fall, and the rebirth of modern wrestling. For better or worse, Hulkamania truly was immortal. In the early honored Randy Savage with his Hall of Fame induction. He spoke of forgiveness, of second chances. Faith became a defining theme in his later years. In 2023, Hulk Hogan and his wife were baptized, with Hogan saying, "It set me free. I wasn't the perfect vessel I should have been. I never called myself a hero. I never called myself a role model. My fans did." By then, Hogan's body was worn from decades in the ring. His knees were fake. His hips were fake. His spine was full of metal. He had given everything to the business. And the truth is, at times, Hulk Hogan was the business. Without him, professional wrestling might never have broken into the mainstream. He was the man who put the sport on the map, the most important wrestler of all time. But the man himself, Terry Bollea, he was deeply flawed, a father who hurt his children, a husband who betrayed his vows, a hero who often placed his own needs above responsibility. His story reminds us that idols can disappoint, that no role someone plays, no matter how brightly lit, should blind us to their humanity. Heroes are still human. And yet, Hogan's story also reminds us that it's never too late for forgiveness, never too late for change. For all his flaws, all his scandals, all his mistakes, Hulk Hogan remained humbled, grateful, and aware of his place in history. Perhaps Hulk Hogan said it best himself. "I'm just grateful for everything, for my family, my friends, and my kids being healthy. I'm just grateful to be alive." Hulk Hogan, the immortal. Hulkamania will live forever, long after the man is gone. In 2024, Hulk Hogan's body finally gave out. After spending 3 decades flying off the top rope, hoisting giants above his head, and carrying an entire industry on his back, the immortal was gone. Terry Bollea, the man behind the bandana and the mustache, passed away at 71 years old on July 24th, 2025. The news shook the wrestling world. Legends who once laughed at him were suddenly solemn. Fans who had turned their backs remembered their childhoods and the joy of Hulkamania. For one moment, everyone agreed there had never been anyone quite like him. His story was complicated, his life full of triumph and turbulence, his legacy debated endlessly. But whether adored or criticized, Hulk Hogan's presence could never be denied. He was the spotlight itself. For millions who grew up with him, there will always be that memory of ripping the shirt open, of pointing to the heavens, of a superhero who told them to never give up. Hulk Hogan may no longer walk the earth, but Hulkamania lives forever. Not in the matches, not on the videotapes, not in the merchandise. It lives in the hearts of the people who believed in the red and yellow. In every child who said their prayers, ate their vitamins, and dreamed that maybe, just maybe, they could be immortal too.